What's up, family? So good to see you all. This is going to be a video all around how to create magnetic masculine feminine dynamics in your relationship. What does magnetic mean? What is polarity? It is the activated, simple truth of masculine and feminine instincts playing out in a relationship where there's high desire, there's high compatibility, there's a loving connection, and the attraction is very high. It's as simple as that. So we're going to go into this. If you have any questions or you're watching this later, type in the comments and let us know what you want to know. What's good, Mr. Little? Let's go.
Oh,
Let's go.
wait for it, wait for it, wait for it.
Oh, let's get it.
Go, dude. Yes. What's up?
Yes. How you doing,
Throwback,
brother?
baby. It's a vibe. Chad Spady, what's up, man? Yes, dude. Nothing like a throwback oldies track, you know. So I'm all about the classic rock. Oh,
I love it, man. Did you see the new Top Gun? I had like a moment of just like binging Highway to the Danger Zone, man. Just like straight up Maverick style.
Oh, dude, I geek out on. Listen to this. I mean, it's so.
They don't make it like that anymore.
No, it doesn't, man. Like, honestly, I've just been geeking out on like Tom Petty, and I mean, I've sent some stuff between our chats, you know, as of recent. But nonetheless, you know, it all filters back to just everything relating to polarity and just the power and all the amazing things happening within the space, man. You know. So
that's it, man.
Inspiration. I mean, really, truly, that's where, you know, cultivating the energy while we're on this topic. That's music, being able to shift and be expressed in that power, in that charge. And I DJ'd for years, man. Like that was like, it's all about, you know, getting in that flow, getting in that state of clarity, right? So
100%. So it's so natural, and everybody like can feel when the energy is present. And music's a great example of polarity playing out, because the DJ or the song is holding the space, and then you get to like expand inside of it, right? It's almost like the song is the masculine energy of like containing, and then you get to be in your Shakti feminine and just like feel that energy and just like express in it. And that's why we love dancing, right?
100%.
Dancing and singing.
100%, man. Like Chad Spady knows what's up. This is a good brother right here. He's got great taste in music across the map. So yeah, you know what's up, man. It's what it is. But
awesome,
man.
Yeah, what I've been realizing, and for those that don't know or just joining us, you know, type in the comments where you're tuning in from, any questions you have about relationships, basically. And we use this word polarity. We're launching and enrolling right now in our program Primal Polarity, which is an 8-week, you know, mastermind for singles and couples all around masculine, feminine, relating. And what I've realized today, and I said this in my stories, is like people just don't understand the word polarity, which makes sense, right? It's not very common or used. And so part of this whole game is really defining it and coming at it objectively, which anytime you hear polarity, for those watching, think magnetism, think attraction, think desire, and a high desire, highly attracted relationship, right, between masculine and feminine. And that's all it is, right? And there are rules, there are art forms, there are sciences inside of this dynamic, because it's an instinctual thing and it's innate, and we can all do it, we can all experience it. And I'd be willing to bet every single person who's ever been in a relationship has at least experienced some of it, right? Before things maybe went downhill or they lost attraction or the honeymoon phase ended. We've all felt high polarity. And that's kind of the simple place to start here, is to just define that and make it really accessible to people. That's what I've really been realizing, sharing about this now for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think that was a great angle and share earlier on IG. It was just on the stories, was being able to kind of dumb it down in a way, you know, and explain it from a place of really making it palatable, you know, and everyone has different words. Like for example, like, you know, spirituality, like God, the universe, all that kind of stuff, right? we're all ultimately trying to say the same thing at the end of the day. It's just a matter of what resonates the best for you. And that's really what, this work, is no different. This is what we're doing within these realms, right? And what I'm so excited to be a part of in, kind of blazing the trail of this work. There's no doubt in my mind at this point, especially as I read more into the media and, pop culture and just the societal, differences and just, wars, all the craziness that's going on, it all stems back to relation. The way that we relate. I was just speaking to this earlier, right? It's so vital. And when it comes online, when you come to a place of truly feeling it, when you understand how, again, the honeymoon phase. What if you could create the honeymoon phase consistently throughout your life? I don't care if you're single. I don't care if you've been married for 10 years. What if you could turn, the tide and create that dynamic, that force, that power, that charge within a relationship, within a container, right? And that's what, for me, is what is so exciting about this, is that time is ticking for sure. Like we can't continue to fuck around, and I was speaking to a sister about this the other day. She was like, oh, well, other cultures would be fine, indigenous tribes and, just, traditional cultures, blah, blah. Well, yeah, that's okay. That's great. But who has the power? The West. Who can press a button and end everything? The West. Who's the most imbalanced? The West.
Bingo. I mean, I think the East has their own version of
Yeah, that's true.
Fucked up relating. But this is kind of the core thing, why is there so much trauma? Why are people's needs not being met? Why are people acting out in violence? Well, it's because they didn't get their needs met as a child. And why didn't they get their needs met as a child? Because mommy and daddy weren't in a loving, polarized relationship, I'd say, for a vast majority of people. So there's generational trauma happening. And then we go and recreate that where we have a bunch of women running around, in female bodies, not feeling safe. They feel under attack. They feel disrespected, abused. That's why Me Too happened. That's why all this energy's come up around it, which rightly so. A lot of it has been really out of balance. Similarly, a lot of men in male bodies out there are running around kind of acting out their frustration and their pain. They might be sexually frustrated. They might be financially frustrated.
Yes.
And they really don't know how to wield their power. And at the same time, the world is craving strong men and women. So
Yes.
Men that are in their power, leading their community, leading their family, and women in their power, being radiant and nurturing and just amazing emotional oracles of healing and beauty. And this is what we want to see. And that's why, it's non-trivial to study relationships. It's non-trivial to study magnetism and attraction and learn how to create it. And like you said, you can be married for 30 years and you can do this. You can be completely single on Tinder and hopefully an integrity on Tinder and do this. And I think more people just sleep on this or take it for granted. And what I've been finding, just committing Gary Vee style and posting every day across platforms only on this topic from now on. And people have the strongest opinions I've maybe ever encountered besides religion and politics. Because they think they know everything about masculine and feminine.
There it is. I'm by no means, but I think we reiterate this all the time, and we'll continue to as we build this community. What we're doing in the space, the program, the whole bit. We don't have it all figured out. We're a student to life,
No.
and anyone that claims that they do are full of shit.
No,
so
you can be sure of it.
But the instincts, the things that have come online, the conversations that have transpired these past 3 months as we've navigated and built and envisioned and created this platform, this community, this structure, is second to none. It's been online and it came into fruition, and creation by stepping out of the comfort zone, saying, listen, this is no doubt probably the most challenging thing, to put yourself out there and talk about, but the most needed.
Yeah, and this is huge. This is not a political solution. Like, oh, we just need to change society and everyone needs to be socialist or everyone needs to be, this is not what we're talking about. And a lot of people want to make it political, right? They want to make it about, everybody needs to be equal. Men and women need to be fully equal. women need to be 50-50 masculine, feminine. Men need to be 50-50 masculine, feminine. And it's rainbows and butterflies, and we're going to be great. And, you know, I want to really challenge the folks out there. Have you ever experienced that, and does it work for you? So a common theme, which we'll just get into, and there's a few topics I have in mind for this one that we haven't covered yet. But this one we've covered a lot, and it continues to come up. I did 2 posts about it. Both of them drew some heat. And one is, you know, a man operating in his feminine will attract a woman operating in her masculine, and vice versa. A strong, independent woman, boss babe energy who's operating in her masculine, even in relationship, is going to attract a man operating in his feminine. It's just physics. It's like a battery. It's like a magnet. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not good or bad. It's just, is it working for you? Are you getting your needs met? Is it working in the bedroom? Is it working emotionally? Is it working in your work-life balance? And the vast majority, because they won't say it in the comments because a lot of people are shy, but my DMs are flooded with these people. Our group, the Polarity Dojo, which is free, by the way, if y'all want to get in there, you know, check the links in our bios.
250 people in the first week, man.
Yeah,
people are hungry for this. And we haven't even pushed it. I put it out maybe, you know, 2 or 3 times. You post a couple links, and it's just exponentially growing. So.
100%. Yeah, I mean, Ruthie's saying it. What's controversial about that?
Yeah.
This is a great question. What is controversial about masculine and feminine coming into union, love, and harmony? It's kind of, that's like saying the sun is going to rise tomorrow. I mean, there's nothing controversial about it. It's just, it's here, it's present. And when you experience it, think about, and this is a thought experiment for everyone, think about your best relationship, even if it didn't last, maybe it was like a month. But think about that moment of being fully in love, fully embodied, fully sexually free, emotionally free with another person. It's the most healing, powerful thing in the universe. And we all crave it. And yet, there's zero education. There's zero framework. And the conversations are lacking. And that's why, you know, having these conversations, I'm willing to take the heat. I'm willing to take these trolls that come in and make, you know, frankly, just clown arguments about it. And what I see is like, I don't blame them. I just see, oh, you were hurt. Yeah. You were hurt in a relationship. And that's why you have this belief. And that's why you want to tear down people that are speaking into it from a place of solutions, not a place from complaining.
100%. Chad Spady, this guy's a beast, man. We absolutely would love to have you in the 8-week container, and I'll hit you up about it. We'll have a chat. You'd be a huge addition to the community and just everything we're doing, you know, within the 8 weeks and beyond. And the dojo. I'll get you the link for the Facebook. But yeah, man, that's the funny part. And like you were, you know, alluding to, is that people kind of hide in the shadows because it's uncomfortable to involve and do more internal work that could shake out other aspects of your life. That's basically what, you know, Chad was saying here a second ago. I just read, and that's it. It's really, again, when you look at the patriarchy and how everything is kind of, you know, from a nature standpoint, look at nature in general. It's ruthless. It's ruthless. It's the high school cheerleader and the male jock, right? Like, oh, yeah. Fuck, like that's triggering, right, for most people. The most beautiful feminine woman and the most, you know, buff and agile and, you know, affluent, you know, male within his own right at that, you know, given time. And, you know, there's a lot of truth there. It doesn't have to be that ridiculous kind of, you know, notion on both sides. In a sense, it can be more embodied and, you know, more aligned, of course, but that kind of stuff plays out. People, at the end of the day, we are animals. We are evolved animals. You know, this is how we've evolved, right? So it's got to start looking at what and where we've come from, and just how that factors into, what works. We're more conscious beings now, 100%. But what are the main core principles that have worked and got us to a point of evolving to where we're at now, millions of years later, right? This isn't ideologies. This isn't theory and all the other bullshit that the woke culture kind of throws out and under to the wayside, right? So
yeah, this is kind of the sign of the times. And, you know, Jordan Peterson is kind of on the front lines, you know, bloody, going through the wall first with this stuff. And he gets a lot of flack But, you know, if you want to understand the cultural side of this, he's a good resource and all the people he's in connection with. But basically, it's like this, right? And this goes for everything, but specifically with masculine and feminine. On the far left, we have woke culture, right? Cancel, you know, shame, Me Too, that's become toxic, where masculine and feminine are patriarchal ideas. It's all bullshit. Anyone can be whatever they want. They can identify as a grasshopper and do whatever the fuck they want. And if you try to stop me, I will cancel you or take you to court. You know, there's this really extreme side, which, you know, compassion. They have been hurt, or they are righteous in their anger at the system that's oppressed them, perceived. And that's okay. We need to change a lot about the system, for sure, especially with men and women. But they've gone so extreme, it's a witch hunt. Okay, that's one side. Cool, let's look at that. Other side, far right, you got incels and red pill folks that have just gone fucking crazy in the manosphere, where it's like they're disrespecting women. They've formed this cult of things should go back to the way it used to be in the Bible or the Quran, or, you know, and it's an extreme the other way, right? And like, you look at both of those and we can caricature them and say they're just complete fucking loonies, and certainly some of them are, but you got to understand what's happening. Society's lost its mythology. It's lost its understanding of masculine and feminine dynamics. And so the people are searching for answers. Yeah. We're playing in the middle somewhere. And, you know, I pull from both sides. Yeah, we got to deconstruct some things. Great. And I pull from tradition and evolution. There's stuff that just works. So it's like, it's the classic saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. You know, don't hate your relationship the way it's going. Hate the dynamics that you've played out and bought into, your conditioning. That's where the issue is. It's science.
Gotta coin
it's
the
science
phrase.
In the true sense, which is observation and cause and effect. Yeah. My marriage isn't working. I wonder why. Let me look at it. And then someone's like, well, if you were leading your wife as a masculine man and offering her provision, protection, and offering her sexual power, your relationship would thrive. Well, no, I can't do that because society said that's bad and I'm toxic and blah, blah, blah. And that's just one of many examples where what are you basing your reality on? And your most intimate reality, right? Your bedroom, your love, your partner. It's your most intimate reality. And you're letting, you know, the state or social media, woke culture tell you how it should be. You gotta start asking questions.
I just keep, when you said that, I just keep thinking about like the emasculated man going through his girlfriend's phone, looking for dominant men.
It's brutal. Brutal. This is a meme we saw, which we won't name names, but it's a brutal meme that, you know, the emasculated man, or the man in his feminine who's not feeling in charge, will break into his girlfriend's phone searching for a dominant man. And the vice versa, right? A woman who's in her masculine, feeling unmet, emotionally unfree, will sneak into her boyfriend's phone to find a feminine woman. I mean, it's funny, but it's also brutal, and some people know
it's brutal,
what that's like.
and it's true. And you know, to bring to another point of more like serious, you know, context, and something that was actually made point of, I think in one of your posts, I don't think it was in the group, but a woman actually had stated like, hey, listen, like I've gone through my life being a more masculine woman and kind of been chastised and, you know, thrown against the, you know, the fence in a lot of ways, and, you know, overpowered by, you know, toxic, you know, masculine men, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's also the other side of the coin, which is, you know, understanding that, you know, realistically, there's nothing wrong at all with not being the typical, you know, dynamic, with not being in the typical role of masculine man, you know, feminine female. It can work in both directions. She says, you know, I'm in a great, safe, you know, fulfilled relationship with a more soft, feminine man, and it works. Amazing.
No, it's awesome.
What this is about.
It does happen.
Exactly it. So it doesn't have to be a situation where, again, everyone is chastised for not being this alpha, like powerful, you know, man, and then just soft, beautiful, elegant, you know, feminine woman, right? It goes in so many different iterations. And I think that's so key, and something that I know we'll continue to touch on, you know, in the community, the dojo, in the 8-week container, is really how to hone that. How are we going through and operating and showing up through our, you know, most dominant pole, our most optimal pole, right?
Right. So this is about optimization, you know.
Yes.
What's funny is, like, yes, it exists where the opposite kind of normative will work, right? The feminine man with the masculine woman, etc. And That does happen. I think people in their older years, I think the woman you're referring to in the comments, she's a little older. She might be in her 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
And in that dynamic, I can totally see that. Jung
100%.
even talks about this, where in the archetypal focus, you know, women will bring their warrior online later in life and kind of become a little more like that. And men will explore their lover or their feminine later in life. And so that's actually pretty healthy, I think. Now, if it's like that dynamic all the time, now the curious thing would be to ask that man, ask her husband, how's that working out for you?
Yes.
I bet there's some things that maybe could be moved around. Maybe not. Maybe he's stoked. A lot of people will jump to the conclusion that this is how it has to be and that this is a dogmatic or ideological thing when it's not. This is a behavioral optimization thing. Just like your diet, just like your exercise, just like, you know, sex is a core need, right? And intimacy is a core need. Like literally infants will die without intimacy and touch. And we need it throughout our life. So it's like, how do you get your needs met while learning to play the game? And many people, especially the 20, 30 somethings that are in the spiritual community, are struggling with this. They're like, where are the masculine men? I want a strong man to protect and provide for me and lead me. And that's triggering to a lot of women who have developed armor around their hearts, armor around their wounds, and rightly so, because they were hurt.
Yes.
A lot of men are playing nice guy. They're playing people pleaser. And hey, that was me in the past. I know exactly what it's like. Try to appease the woman, aka appease mommy, because I don't want to stir things up. Because if I own my desire and my power, she'll lash out or I'll lose her, right? And there's this whole game that's being played of defense. People are playing defense in relating when they actually should be playing offense. They should be going after their desire, which is funny because a lot of them are entrepreneurs and they're doing that in sales and marketing. They're going fucking ham. They're going after it, full power. But then when it comes to the bedroom and they leave the boardroom, when it comes to the home life, they flip. And this is really interesting. This is a big part of what we're going to be covering in the program is, you know, stop playing defense and take your same energy, your charisma and magnetism in the boardroom and bring it to the bedroom, because that's actually where it's needed the most.
100%. Couldn't have said it better. And I think I've even noticed that. I've lived in Tulum now for 2 years. We met in Bali, which is where you're at right now, ironically. And it's very, very much similar there, the kind of energy and vibes and community and, you know, the whole thing. But if I look at like my journey and living, you know, here, you know, starting a men's community, you know, really taking and having the right intentions to move the ball forward and create that foundation for masculinity. If I really look at, and that's been a challenge for me and something that I've had to like really starkly look at and be like, damn, like, holy shit, this stuff is true. You know, I've held some, you know, resentment towards even, you know, the women's community, or just the way I've interacted with some females, not from an intimate, you know, my relationships, that kind of stuff has been pretty, you know, pretty solid, like through and through, and attracting a feminine, you know, that kind of stuff. But the overarching tone of what I've experienced is exactly what you were just speaking to. You know, women emasculating men, not respecting them, judging them, and then you playing, you know, nice guy in some ways and be like, oh, I'm sorry, mommy, like, oh, you know, that kind of stuff. That is what creates the resentment. That's what creates, you know, the dissonance and the struggle and the strife and all this unneeded pain. And it comes from wounding. It comes from a place of conditioning, from your, you know, your baggage, your traumas, your stories, all these things. And for most people, majority of people, I truly believe communities like, you know, expat communities in Bali, Tulum, whatever, all over the world, everyone that's doing this on this journey is seeking truth. They have no fucking clue. It's just not online for them. It's not set in, and they keep, you know, in these cyclical loops with their community or people, and dragging people under the bus, you know, unbeknownst to, you know, what and how they could actually operate their truest, you know, energetic, what they ultimately desire. And that's the travesty of it. And what I'm so excited to bring more awareness to, and be on this journey, you know, and creating this community of intention, right?
That's it. Well, they're creating the opposite outcome of what they want, because they've reversed cause and effect. They think if they are, you know, let's just take the extreme example, a woman who's successful, right? She's crushing business, whether she's corporate or entrepreneur. She's really successful, and she's learned the techniques and the skills to do that, and she's respected for it. Rah, 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 strong, independent woman, boss babe, CEO. Yes. And that's amazing. Like a lot of women thrive there. Fuck yeah. Let's support that. Let's support women doing that.
100%.
But then here's where the twist happens. She wants, and a lot of them, I've coached these women, a lot of them are speaking to me right now, and they want to be claimed. They want to be led in the relationship space. And this involves sex, this involves intimacy, emotion, communication. They want to be contained and feel like they can surrender to a man and run their business. And that is possible. And this was a big thing in one of the interviews I did yesterday. You have to learn how to transition. My partner, my queen, is fucking amazing at this, where she intentionally will transition out of work mode into lover mode. And a lot of women are like, well, how do you do that? Like, I don't want to go to, you know, yoni wands and yoni egg circles, or I don't want to do the, you know, and it doesn't have to look like that. It just looks like coming out of your head into your heart, right? Into the body, into embodiment and expression. And likewise for men, a lot of men, also masculine, running their business, going to work, corporate entrepreneur, doesn't matter. They come home, they just want to fucking chill. They're like, oh, I just want to like let go, crack a beer, let me just chill. Oh yeah, we can, I don't know, what do you want to do? They kind of get wishy, they come out of their masculine because they want to come into nurture, or they want to chill, which is also fine. Fuck yeah, I mean, men need self-care too. Men also have a feminine part. But then you want to have hot sex. You want to feel charged. You want to feel desire. It ain't gonna work. Because both partners are either going in their feminine and it becomes chaotic and moody, or both partners stay in their masculine and then it's competition. In both cases, no one wants to fuck. And this is a key component of learning the whole polarity game. Call it whatever you want. Learn how to shift and learn how to use your energy in different ways. Just like you learn how to ride a bike, you have to learn how to pedal and shift gears. And like, okay, there's this mechanism, and it's the same for this work. And kind of the way I boil it down in a simple term is masculine is decisive, feminine is surrendered. Can you cultivate those energies inside yourself and then learn when to go into the relationship? And here's the sad part, because I've coached married couples and people that, you know, were going through big pain, that almost getting divorced, stuff like this. Somebody's got to go first. Somebody's got to suck it up and risk being wrong, risk doing it wrong, because it's going to be awkward when you do it for the first time, and go first. Somebody's got to go first and lead the relationship. Just like in the bedroom, somebody's got to lead.
In my last container of about 9 months, the evolution that transpired within that space and time was second to none, because of what you just spoke to, because of taking that leap, stepping up to lead and saying enough is enough. I'm going to show up and see what happens when I operate this way, when I communicate this way, when I set parameters and structures and boundaries based on polarity. And it was fucking perfect in that regard. And it's, again, this isn't by any means, this isn't there's not a quick fix out there. I think it's another thing that people, you know, need to understand is that this is a process, this is a journey. And sometimes that means, you know, breakups or transitioning or, you know, whatever. I mean, you can, you know, if you're single, for example, it might be a little bit more challenging, you know, to build that up and get to that point of being able to express it fully. But there's little things, there's little nuances that you can take along the way that will absolutely set you up for success and however you want to relate. And so I think that's another, you know, really key point for people to understand is that, listen, you know, the way that you're going about things right now, for the most part, is probably not working, right? It hasn't worked. Society, unless you're in, again, a polarized relationship and, you know, firing away and doing what you want, or have a family, kids, and all these different things that are checking off all these boxes. But most people don't. And they're bullshitting themselves through, you know, especially longer term containers where the spark is gone. They're essentially roommates. I spoke to this the other day. Been with a beautiful woman, been with someone for 20 years. Zero intimacy. None.
Sad. So common.
So
sad.
This
is where a lot of the trauma comes in, because this is where addiction comes in, or cheating, or, you know, porn, whatever. Like, this is where all that stuff comes in, because when we're not getting our needs met, we're just going to seek them. It's elsewhere, outside the container. And I think a lot of people invest in their cars and their real estate and their health and their
Yeah.
wellness and
All of
looks, whatever, their business. But for some reason, when it comes to the relationship, I think there's an assumption that it should just work or it just happens. Well, it's just the way it is. We just need to do it this way. And, you know, it's really not working for a lot of people. And just look at the generation behind us and the generation behind them, who we're extremely grateful for life and everything that's happened. But, you know, a lot of people didn't have emotional intelligence. They didn't have intimacy training or skill sets. And so they just kind of got by with what they had. They just kind of duct taped things together and raised families and built a life. And that's great until it's not. And that's why the divorce rate is over 50%. That's why there's so much abuse and violence. That's why there's so much lack of desire. And that's why, you know, porn and, you know, strip clubs and prostitution are booming industries. It's because people haven't learned how to harness desire and sexuality. And this is the most powerful force on the planet. It's also part of why I suspect the media and, you know, folks that are in education and government, you know, they're not interested in this, because actually, when you're unable to express desire, unable to enter that masculine feminine harmony, you're very easy to sell shit to, you know, pills or, you know, band-aids or whatever. And so there is like a really intense part of this where there is a war of some kind on the masculine feminine union. And you can talk to people that go really esoteric with this, but it's also very practical, where you have to realize that this could be one of the most important things in your life right now. And someone said it earlier in the chat, which is really important. Some people will avoid this work because, yeah, everything in your life may have to change. If you change your intimacy and relating style, yeah, your career, your friendships, your, you know, men and women's groups, your tribe, it may have to change drastically.
Drastically. But guess what? Ripping the band-aid off now, instead of just gradually doing it over years and time, it's going to be a lot less painful.
Right.
Period.
And it's going to look different for everyone, you know, like you may have an amazing tribe and friends group, which is essential to polarity, by the way. Polarity doesn't happen in a vacuum, just in your house watching Netflix or in the bedroom. It happens in a village. So you're going to need, I always tell men, like, oh, you're struggling with your partner. Do you have a group of men around you? Are you in regular contact with a group of men that are going to lift you up and help you? Same with a woman. Do you have a sisterhood? Are you part of a group of women and queens that's going to lift you up and call you out on your bullshit? This is essential, where it has to happen in that dynamic. And, you know, something we haven't even really talked about, which is its own video series, is codependency. A lot of people, instead of creating the attraction dynamics and really own, you know, the masculine leading, the feminine being that oracle and being like the sensuous oracle of desire in real time, signaling, helping the masculine to lead, and vice versa, him helping her to open, her like helping him get into his heart, vice versa, boom, high attraction. They'll become codependent. So they'll just kind of latch onto each other and form this dynamic that saps the desire and increases anxiety. And a lot of people are running these programs without even knowing them. And this is unfortunately, you know, which is going to be in Primal Polarity, the 8-week program too. You got to get into shadow work. You're going to have to address things you've been avoiding. And some of that's not for your partner. This is actually an important distinction. Not everything needs to go into the relationship. That's why you need that outside support. You know, you don't, the last thing you want to do is make your partner your therapist.
Literally, especially for men. I think it's such a crucial point. You talk about community, men's support, all these different things. Guys, stop using your woman as your mom as a way to dump your emotions and your feelings and all this stuff. It is so depolarizing. Another key factor to, this work. That is the ultimate sign of non-safety, of making a woman step into her masculine more, right? And it's little subtleties like these that no one understands though. They think, oh, I'm a spiritual guy and I'm, mind, heart, cohesion and all the things, right? That I should just wear my emotions on my chest and speak openly and freely with my partner all the time. Making a point of something or expressing like frustration or this once, sure, there's nothing wrong with stating, again, boundaries, that kind of stuff. But when you're dumping and the emotion, all this stuff, it just ruins the dynamic, ruins it. This is the spark literally dumping water on the fire.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a time and place to be vulnerable, and obviously you want to communicate. But, and this is going to be in the dojo. For anyone that wants more information on that, don't hesitate to reach out to us. The core dynamic here is actually setting boundaries and containments in the agreements of the relationship field. And this is all communication. So, for example, a great example of this is triggers coming up. A lot of energy. The feminine is entering her expression, which can be really big, which is amazing. The masculine loves that. But when it's intense, it can be a lot to be in, and that's when the escape mechanisms come up. As the masculine, your job in that moment is to be like, hey, call it the pause button. Hey, I still love you. I'm not abandoning you, but I'm going to take space. I'm actually going to step away because I don't want to get into a dynamic where I'm unloading on you, or and step away. Go see your men. Go to nature. Go to the gym. Go sit alone. Process in your own way. Maybe that's alone. Maybe it's with other men. Step away, create. And that's just one example, right, of the boundaries that you can create consciously, not from lashing out, not from triggers and reaction. You're responding, assessing, and sometimes you need space. Sometimes it needs to be closeness. Sometimes you need to lean in and actually hold the pillar. And that nuance and that discernment is everything. Lead
the feminine into her expression, into her emotions. Why are you feeling this way? How does it feel in your body? What does it mean to you in terms of, this way that you're expressing, right? All these little things, and then bring her back into that frame, bring her back into logic and understanding and groundedness. That's the beauty that, when we talk about things in relationships that are incredible, when you can actually see that through, is taking the feminine out of a storm and bringing her back to land, bringing her back to solid ground where she can say, oh, wow. That alone, you want to talk about polarizing and beautiful and drawing together. I mean, there's nothing like it. And when you experience that, yes, it's beautiful. It's amazing.
The other side of this would be if the masculine is stuck in his head, or he's like kind of fucked up, stressed, he's not in his heart, he's not in his power, as the feminine, not necessarily leading him, but people get triggered by this word seducing or seduction, but whatever, enticing and expressing your desire and bringing him into his body. And this can be sexual, but it doesn't have to be. And helping him back into his heart and into his leadership. The feminine is super powerful at that. And a lot of women in that moment, feminine women, will lash out and cut him off at the knees or cut his balls off. And that's the last thing you would want to do if you actually want the result of, wow, I want him to lead me and love me and want to be more intimate. But that's a defense mechanism. Yep. And the saddest thing, I saw this a few times in comments lately, women defending that, saying that women need to lash out and essentially cut the man off at his knees because he's fucking up and he needs to know that. And it's okay. I'm not going to judge that, but how's that working out for you? Is that getting the love you want? Haven't seen it once.
Right. Literally. Well, and to what you were just saying, judgment in of itself is one of the first, probably if not the top reason why men leave relationships. Getting judged all the time. Criticized, this, that, the other. That has to stop on the feminine side. Learn to respect your man. Learn to support and have compassion for what the load that a lot of men are carrying right now, in this world, and trying to navigate all these different things. And it goes both ways, but just specifically speaking to this, judgment alone will ruin the relationship with the masculine. Time and time again.
So there's nuance here, because let's say the man is fucking up and crossing your boundaries and being, aggressive or, really not serving you. Okay, you need to set a boundary. You might need to remove yourself from that. So there is nuance. It's not always that you just, let the man express. You need to express your desire. As the feminine, you can use testing without judgment and criticism. It can be constructive to signal to him that he's not leading you in a good way and actually you're not feeling safe. You need to let him know that. But if you're in a committed relationship, I mean, it's one thing if it's like the second date, right? But if you're in a container or married or whatever, you need to let him know that and invite him back into a benevolent leadership. And that can be really uncomfortable for the man to hear and to feel. And so again, this is where you need tribe. This is where you need support. And you need some kind of check-in mechanism. So you need to have a space where you can have that polarized, magnetic communication, even if it's difficult, because the masculine is going to thrive when he gets respect and acknowledgement, when he does something right. Even if he's fucking up, he's trying to do it right. And yeah, if he's completely fucking up and trampling your boundaries of your sacred space, you need to let him know, create a boundary. A lot of women I know have shared that they struggle to do that because they've been, manipulated or, in these relationships that are very toxic. So this is part of the feminine rising is like, you got to use your voice. You need to use your power and let him know where the desire stands. Signal to him, respond to him, but you have to do it from your heart. If you do it from your mind and try to cut him down, you're going to create the opposite of what you want, unfortunately.
What have we spoke to so much, over the last even, few lives? Tonality. How are you approaching? How are you being soft in your communication? Get a point across rather than, hey, you're fucking up or not doing this. As opposed to, hey, baby, would you maybe consider like this or something? This is how this makes me feel, or, but yada yada yada. The absolute just simplicity of tone and changing that can completely shift the way a dynamic plays out, especially if there's conflict. Right. I would love to see more questions. Anyone that has any, I know there's a lot of people that have been just hanging out here, like, listening, which is amazing. Anyone have any questions that they want to, dive into? Would love to field some here. Yeah,
Ruthie has got a good one here. She's like, in my experience, I always wanted the masculine to be more open emotionally, but it could have been something in the shadow, right? And this is a good little nuance, right? Most women say this. They want their man to open up. They want to feel his heart. What's going on? He never talks about it. You want him to be more emotional. Yes. And you got to be careful because you have to create a container for that. So you can be in a space where the man's open, sharing, emotional, but you're not coddling him. So this is a huge thing. As the feminine, do not coddle him. He's not your child.
No.
Receive his emotion. Yeah. Receive his share, and then kind of give the ball back to his court. Let him know how good it feels to receive that for his vulnerability. Because you don't realize, some women just don't realize how hard it is for men to be vulnerable in 2022. It's a minefield. All the conditioning, all the shame and rage, and all the masculine, old world bullshit that's been layered on him. He's carrying a weight. So be tender with his heart when he opens up, but then give him the power. Like, hey, you're a fucking king. You're a problem solver. Men love to solve problems. Give him solutions and give him your heart and support. Don't coddle. Don't go in to save him. Don't go in and try to control his dynamic or make him feel better by just giving him sex or giving him food or trying to push it down. There's a big nuance there because a lot of women want their man to be vulnerable, but then he starts being vulnerable, they coddle, and suddenly you don't want to fuck that man anymore because he's losing so much of the frame.
This is where the spiritual community has hit so fucking misaligned. It's insane. It actually is so starkly noticeable now too. Again, when the stuff starts to hit you, when you really start, when it comes online, it becomes, it's just like you can't not notice it, right? And it's just crazy, like how that is so promoted though. It's so encouraged in the space. Oh yeah, share your feelings openly, be vulnerable constantly, just on loop. Just whenever you're feeling a certain way, just dump it out. And then the feminine unconsciously latches on, becomes mommy, does the coddling, and then again, there's just dumping water on the spark, dumping water. I see a lot of people, a lot of influencers, a lot of relationship coaches, really large followings too in the space that are so 50-50. in their relationships. You can literally see it through their body language, the way they communicate, the way they go about. And it is literally, and God bless them. I know they're truth seekers too, but they are doing a disservice to everyone, and especially the women that are buying into these programs. Because what is it, 80% of women, that are spending the money on personal development, right? More men need to step up, of course, but it's like, holy shit, man. Like, this ain't good. A man teaching a woman to be 50-50 in a container, right? And be more for the flow, and just going through this emotions, and it's all fine and great and rainbows and unicorns. Guys, it's not working. It's not working anymore. And we got to get real with it. And that's, again, why, this has become such a passion pursuit for me, and what we're, embarking upon, together in this community and everything. I know this is the life's work. There's no doubt about it. And it's uncomfortable. I know it, especially for a lot of people. And I speak to that a lot because I want to make that clear, is that, I don't hold the keys to the answers of life, or neither do you. We've said it multiple times, but to make people understand that it's so much better to be uncomfortable now and get to the point of where you want to go and be in relation with your opposite pole, than it is to continue in this fucking delusion, this delusional land of, this is what everyone says, though, this is what society says, and yada yada yada. It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah. You got to find what works for you. And, on the 50-50 piece, maybe some people are thriving in that. I've watched a lot of relationships of conscious power couples collapse under that ideology or idea.
100%.
And what happened, and usually the woman will speak out first, because in breakups, women tend to get more support than men, because a lot of men, it's hard to reach out for help, or maybe they don't have a men's circle. The woman will come out and say, I was so tired of being in my masculine. And yet the 50-50 thing, it's a cool idea, right? Well, we're completely balanced. It's fluid. Brother, your polarity teaching is old patriarchy. It's like, okay. But then on the flip side, it's like they wanted to surrender. They wanted to be in their feminine. And then the man, often much later, and again, some of these people I know, I'm not naming any names, but I've supported some of these people professionally, and also as a brother, as a friend. The man comes out and is like, man, it was so hard to feel my partner, who I loved, he probably would have stayed with her a lot of the times, be in her masculine and feel undercut or dug in that dynamic. And they tried to play it out because the woman told them that this is what they wanted. And this is the mind fuck. This is one of those deeper codes. There's the conscious thing where it's like, I want to look a certain way because this is how the spiritual community, or this is how blah, blah, blah told me it should look, versus the unconscious, aka the instincts of what will create a good father of your child, what will create a good home that's financially, sexually, emotionally healthy and has a strong container and structure and direction. This is where we're going. Who's coming with me? I want to have kids. I want to create a life. I want to create a business. This is what's happening. Here's the partnership. You love to see it, but a lot of folks, and I just have pure compassion, and I go to trying to understand, like, how do we get here? And, I have my own relationships in my life where I look back and I'm like, yep, I did that.
Mic drop. There it is. That's what, and then you take it one step further with a lot of people in the spiritual community that try to sell themselves, sell their programs, because they've created this whole image of balance and equal, and my king and my queen and yada yada yada, right? They go on that kind of tangent, and it's so eluding, right? It's so just and then it ends and everyone's like, wait, well, I thought that's how it was supposed to be, and everything was so great and grand and amazing, and it's all balance and unity and blah 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 blah. It's like, no. And again, just when is enough, right? Call it what you want, everyone. Doesn't yin and yang, lunar, solar, all these different, phrases, right? It's just again, we spoke to this very early on in the conversation tonight. What do you call God? the universe, spirit, source, all these things, call it whatever you want. It's just the energetics. It's the dynamic. And I have a strong inclination over the next few years that this is going to become ultra popular, ultra informative, and just everything surrounding, you know, the interest of, you know, this being at the forefront of, topic. 100%.
Yeah, in the same way that yoga and eating healthy and fasting and ice baths and all these kind of biohack things have exploded in popularity, masculine and feminine work will explode in this decade and beyond. Men and women's work, which is kind of starting to really pick up. I'm seeing more pages every day that are dedicated to healthy masculine or healthy feminine energy. You know, it's really getting started. And this is a call out to anyone out there. If you want to get into the game, you know, and become your own version, your facilitator, share your ideas, this is a great time to start. So someone listening to this, you know, if you feel passionate about this, you know, just start sharing your stories, start studying, start learning. And, you know, I want to again make the invitation before we close out here. If you want a free community to practice this stuff, share, ask questions, a safe space to do this, Polarity Dojo. We have it on Facebook. You know, we have 250 people in a week. It's going to keep growing. We're going to close it from being fully open to the public, so you just have to put in, you know, your email and answer a few questions. But yeah, that's in our bios. You can DM either one of us. And we also have an 8-week container for the hardcore that want to really study and practice this and go through a group coaching experience where I'm just going to lay out all of the curriculum, all of the techniques, tactics, and you're going to have the accountability and support to actually be in a space with singles and couples doing this work together. So if you want to find out more about that, shoot me a message. We'll set you up with the application. Make sure you're following Scott here if you're on my page and vice versa. And yeah, brother, grateful for you.
Yeah, man.
This has been
Likewise.
Another one.
Another
one.
What's that?
Another one. It's like
another one, man.
Another one.
We just gotta keep it rolling. Absolutely. Another one and more other ones and continued other ones, man. That's just what it's going to be. And especially as it relates to even other influencers as well. A lot of exciting people lining up that we'll be speaking to as well. Both, together, solo, keeping the loop on, just, the content, what we're putting out. And there's going to be some exciting people that are, coming into these realms and speaking to what it is that we're, putting out in the world and what we're building. And it's, just a really exciting time to be, putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So couldn't be more grateful and excited and, all the things, moving forward. So.
Beautiful. Here's to many more. Thank everybody for joining. Type in the chat, replay if you're watching this later, and sharing is caring. If you have someone that tag them in this or share it out, because we got to get more men and women, more masculine and feminine beings on board as we're shifting this narrative. There it is.
Let's go. Let's
go.
Rock, baby. For real.
Let's go.
Woohoo. Ciao, everyone.